So Rigetti just got an Air Force contract, and it's been a while since we just focused on Rigetti. So let's talk about this quantum computer pure play. And they just got a $5 million Air Force contract. The stock has been moving well. Earnings are coming up. There's a lot of interesting things going on with Rigetti Spaghetti. So we're going to talk about Rigetti, and we're going to go into this news. We're going to go into a little bit of price analysis, and that's pretty much it. We're going to keep it short and sweet. So let's jump in. Okay, so I've got the article pulled up here about this Air Force award. Let's take a look at it, skim over it. Rigetti Computing secures a $5 million Air Force research grant. So Rigetti has seen substantial price movement of 25% over the month. We'll look at all of that price action. And the company's milestones included closing a private placement transaction and receiving a $5.4 million grant from the Air Force Office of Scientific Research to advance its chip fabrication technology. So you're probably thinking, okay, $5.4 million, that's whatever. It's not that much money. But to a smaller company that spends a lot on R&D, doesn't have the highest amount of revenues and is still really in the research phase, these contracts can start to add up. Revenues can start to look a little bit better. And then as that compounds and that momentum builds, suddenly the company becomes much more valuable. So additionally, Rigetti's selection for DARPA's quantum benchmarking initiative highlights its ongoing commitment to quantum computing innovation, suggesting that these advancements play a role in its recent price performance. So just over a month ago, DARPA selected Rigetti Computing for their QBI program to verify and validate that quantum computing can achieve utility scale operation by 2033. One more piece of news to share. Remember that Quanta $35 million investment? Well, Rigetti just closed on that one as well. So Rigetti, a pioneer in full stack quantum classical computing announced today that it has closed the previously announced investment by Quanta Computer related to their strategic collaboration agreement. In connection, Quanta purchased approximately $35 million of shares at approximately $11.59 per share. That's actually higher than the current stock price. We are pleased to take this next step in our strategic collaboration with Quanta. So that's kind of the news. Now let's take a look at the company and the financials. So Rigetti is one of the things that I like so much about Rigetti, and why I'm an investor in Rigetti, is because of their novel approach. So not only do they have quantum computers in the cloud, they also have quantum computers available to purchase. They have partners like NASA, Lincoln Laboratory. They have distribution channels like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, and they build gate-based quantum computers, but they build that in a scalable way. So meaning that it can scale up and become more powerful over time, but also they built it in a way so that parts of their machines could be used in other quantum systems, which is a novel approach and will give them, as I've said before, dexterity in this quantum revolution, where they will be able to plug into other companies' efforts or progress they've made in one aspect of quantum computing. They'll be able to plug in directly to someone else's efforts with their processors, their control systems, their software. They have a whole. They're a full stack company with. You've heard Dr. Kulkarni say that our focus is that it's scalable and flexible. And that's very interesting because a lot of companies build a very closed sort of stack, and only their software and their hardware will work.
We started about 10 years ago, founded by Dr. Chad Rigetti. Have evolved over the time period, so we are one of the early entrants. And what we have designed today is an open modular stack So unlike some other companies, like big tech companies like IBM and Google, who play in this space, who deal with a quantum computer like a mainframe computer where it's all integrated, we have intentionally left our stack open and modular. So we can slide in components that may be more creative coming from outside than what we can do internally. So we can do everything internally, but when, for instance, NVIDIA comes up with a CUDA-Q, a quantum version of CUDA, we could easily integrate that into our stack. Whereas if you do it in a mainframe approach, it's difficult. Same with error correction companies like Riverlane and so on. So right now we are developing, making quantum computers. They are already there. We have sold a few, and we'll get into that. So they work. They are not vaporware anymore. We continuously get those questions. Is it real? Is it happening? It's already happening in that sense. We are developing, making quantum computers. Customers are using.
So their Anka 3 system has 84 qubits, 99.9% fidelity on the 2 qubit gates, and the single qubit gate is 99.9%, and 2 qubits is 99%. So they are still building and advancing their quantum computers. So Rigetti, from a financial standpoint, is Rigetti a good company to invest in? Well, this is where you need to understand that quantum is a relatively young and it's an emerging technology and it's a disruptive technology. But typically, when you're investing in something that is unproven, that has not yet proven its commercial value and is not yet providing a ton of revenue and income, that you're taking a risk. That there is volatility. Things can go south. Things can go not according to plan. So let's take a look at some of, so we can see the chart has gone down considerably, and there's been a recent rally. We'll talk about that more in TradingView. Revenue has been flat. They had 6.1 million. So we talked about this $5 million deal when the company is doing 2.5 million, 3.5 million. That's pretty huge in the grand scheme of things. Net income is down significantly. Operating income, actually, I consider this a little bit of an improvement. The free cash flow is also trending the right direction. Operating cash flow, they are reducing their cost and operating expenditures, and their assets exceed their liabilities. I like to see that. They don't have a lot of debt. And I don't have it on this screen right here, but they have something, they have a good amount of cash on hand, is my understanding. They have a lot of runway as far as that goes. So from a financial standpoint, we have a price of sales that is extremely high. A lot of these tech companies, quantum companies, are going to be at a very high price to sales while they're not making a ton of sales. Now, let's look at revenue. So they have missed on revenue, pretty much what Wall Street was expecting. They've missed in 2024. They had in earnings a small surprise in Q2 of 2024. So what does that mean for this upcoming earnings? Expect more of the same. That they're probably going to miss a little bit. Now, the last time that Rigetti reported earnings and missed, the stock didn't have a dump or sell off. I think investors understand, and the CEO has been very clear, Dr. Kulkarni, that this is still research. We're still, we do have a pathway to sales and on revenue and creating value for shareholders, but we're still building these systems. We're still researching these systems. So understand that by the time these companies are making real money, these stocks are going to be a lot more expensive. So that's the trade-off, right? Like if you're waiting for the blanket or the security of, I'm going to just wait until Rigetti's making 100 million a year. Well, the stock is going to be much, much higher when they're posting those sort of numbers. The stock is trading at the levels, these quantum stocks are trading at the levels they are now based on their future potential, and the market is forward looking. So there's a lot of bears out there as well, on quantum in general. And we just have to acknowledge that there is potential downside risk to investing in quantum, and you must do your own research. You must do your own due diligence. That gives you the conviction in your investments in your plays. So if you see a drop in your investment, you're not worried about it because you know that eventually it'll be okay if you're a long-term investor. Now, if you're a short-term or day trader, you probably already are very aware of the risks and that type of thing. And can play the swings with these types of stocks. Let's look at the Rigetti chart, and I've called out some different things before. So first, in all of the quantum stocks, we really have the quantum frenzy where we shot up and Rigetti actually touched $22 before a massive sell-off right around when Jensen made the comments and spooked investors that quantum computers were 15, 20, 30 years away. And Rigetti actually dropped all the way from 22 down to $6. So that's why I'm saying it's very important that you do your own research and you understand that investments carry risk and you do your own due diligence. Now, since that time, Rigetti was able to recover all the way up to about a 16 price point. And in the recent macro, we've seen some sell-off, and it's been fairly range bound in this $7 to $10 area. Now, very recently, Rigetti actually broke through a critical level, which was this 1036 level. And we're starting to look at the next level, which would be 1151. And then beyond that, probably 1234. We've seen a couple rejections off that. So we're going to add another line there. So let's get down into the last trading week. So one thing to always look at is volume. Okay, so a lot of volume came in, a lot of buying. We know that Rigetti's earnings are coming up on May 12th. So some thoughts on what's happening in this 5-day chart. Well, we have an extremely strong move to the upside. We've seen as much as a 30% gain, and when Rigetti starts moving, it really starts moving. Lots of volume at around this $9.50, $10. So where do we go from here? What are some possible or plausible scenarios? So we're going to look at some previous areas of resistance. So in our bull case, our bull of bull case, we're going to break through 1151 on this Air Force news, and 1151 is going to become the new support. And it would go something like this into earnings towards May 12th. That's the bull of the bull case. Now, in a bear case, or if macro shifts, we're going to see a rejection off 1151. In fact, we could even see a rejection off of 1062 and then hit its support levels and move to the downside back down to 7, because we've been range bound. We've been here in these $7 levels. Rigetti in the last 3 months has just been hanging out between $7 and $10. So for it to break out and start to show some real momentum, I would like to see it have a clean break above 1036. I'd like to see it move through 1151. I would imagine it will get rejected pretty hard here and maybe bounce around this channel. This is, again, a bull case, but if we're going to see upward price movement for Rigetti, we're going to need to see it break some critical price levels. So Rigetti is looking awesome. If you're interested in investing in quantum stocks, of course, do your own research. Hope you have taken some value out of this price analysis. And if you enjoy content like this, if you want to stay up to date on quantum and other stocks, please consider leaving a like or subscribe. Talk to you all in the next one.